Now he descended to introduce the path of bhakti. He delivered all living beings by offering the gift of Krishna Bhakti. Since he has no other occupation than to teach a devotional service, his name is Advaita Acharya. Sri Advaita Acharya called for the Lord to appear by offering Ganges water and tulsi leaves to the Shalagram Shila. He was a resident of Shantipur, and he also had a house in Navadvip, so sometimes he stayed there. Sri Advaita Acharya had two wives, Srimati Sita Devi and Srimati Sri Devi. His sons were Achyutananda, Krishna Mishra and Gopal, who were great devotees, and Sri Balaram, Swarup and Jagadish, who were smartas or Mayavadis and were rejected by the Vaishnava society. Sri Advaita Acharya Ki Jai. Thank you. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, Uniting Two Worlds, chapter entitled At Home in India. Constant travel, Srila Prabhupada said, was becoming more and more inconvenient, one reason for his return to India. But he was by no means stopping. Unless he travelled, his movement could not remain vital and healthy. So he was prepared, despite inconvenience, to continue touring. Disciples never stopped inviting him to travel, and recently Pushta Krishna Swami had asked him to come to South Africa. When Prabhupada agreed, Pushta Krishna had quickly arranged 10 festivals and other engagements in Durban and Johannesburg, covering a period of 3 weeks in October. Devotees on the predominantly Hindu island of Mauritius had also requested Prabhupada to visit, mentioning that the Prime Minister wanted to meet him. Prabhupada agreed, leaving Vrindavan, making brief stops in Delhi, Ahmedabad and Bombay. He was off to Africa. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, starting a new chapter, 9, the Supreme Character of Jad Bharat, text 1 to 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So there's a long prose verse. I'll just go through the word for word, then translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Shukravacha, Sukadeva Goswami continues to speak. Atha, thereafter, Kasyachit, of some, Dvijavadasya, Brahman, Angira Pravarasya, who came in the dynasty of the great saint Angira. Shama, control of the mind. Dhamma, control of the senses. Tapa, practice of austerities and penances. Swadhyaya, recitation of the Vedic literature. Dhyayana, studying. Tyaga, renunciation. Santosh, satisfaction. Titiksha, tolerance. Prashaya, very gentle. Vidya, knowledge. Anasuya, without envy. Atma-jnana Ananda, satisfied in self-realization. Yuktasya, who was qualified with. Atma-sradisha, and exactly like himself. Shruta, in education. Shila, in character. Acharya, in behavior. Rupa, in beauty. Audarya, in magnanimity. Guna, possessing all these qualities. Navasaudarya, 9 brothers born of the same womb. Angaja, sons. Babuvu, were born. Mitunam, a twin brother and sister. Cha, and Yaviyasyam, in the youngest. Bharyayam, wife. Ya, who. Tu, but. Tatra, there. Puman, the male child. Tam, him. Parama Bhagavatam, the most exalted devotee. Raja Rishi, of saintly kings. Pravaram, most honoured. Bharatam, Bharat Maharaj. Shrishta, having given up. Mriga Sariram, the body of a deer. Charama Sarirena, with the last body. Vipratvam, being a Brahman. Gatam, obtained. Ahu, they said. Translation. Shukadev Goswami said, continued, my dear king, after giving up the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj took birth in a very pure Brahmin family. There was a Brahmin who belonged to the dynasty of Angira. He was fully qualified with Brahminical qualifications. He could control his mind and senses, and he had studied the Vedic literatures and other subsidiary literature. He was expert in giving charity, and he was always satisfied, tolerant, very gentle, learned, and non-envious. He was self-realized and engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He remained always in a trance. He had 9 equally qualified sons by his first wife, and by his second wife he begot twins, a brother and a sister, of which the male child was said to be the topmost devotee and foremost of saintly kings, Bharat Maharaj. This, then, is the story of the birth he took after giving up the body of a deer. Purport. Bharat Maharaj was a great devotee, and he did not attain success in one life. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that a devotee who does not fulfill his devotional duties in one life is given the chance to be born in a fully qualified Brahmin family or a rich Kshatriya or Vaishya family. Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe, Bhagavad Gita 6:41. Bharat Maharaj was the firstborn son of Maharaj Rishabha in a rich Kshatriya family. But due to his willful negligence of his spiritual duties and his excessive attachment to an insignificant deer, he was obliged to take birth as the son of a deer. However, due to his strong position as a devotee, he was gifted with the remembrance of his past life. Being repentant, he remained in a solitary forest, always thought of Krishna. Then he was given the chance to take birth in a very good Brahmin family. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So there's a description here of a devotee, Brahmin, who became the father of Bharat Maharaj. How he's very highly qualified, perfect control of his senses, studied Vedic literature, expert in giving in charity, and so on. Had all the qualities of a Brahmin. So the Brahmin is one class in the Varnashram system, and you have the Sudras, the Vaishyas. The Sudras, the labour class; the Vaishyas, the mercantile class of tradesmen and Brahmins protecting cows, and the Kshatriya class, keeping law and order in society, the administrative duties and protecting society, and then Brahminical class, the intelligentsia, whose their focus was on their spiritual practices and giving guidance to society at large. The rest of the four classes. So this is Bharat Maharaj. He'd already attained to a higher level of Krishna spiritual realization, and was totally given to the practice of remembering the Lord in his heart at every moment. And by no means was he going to give that up to risk again taking another birth and not being successful in that present life. So the activities of his father were in fact inferior to him. So, because Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the Varnashram system. One performs activities, preferred activities to, and offers this as to the Lord for his pleasure, which is very much recommended, but if one is on a higher stage of Krishna consciousness, like who has an ability to remember the Lord in his heart constantly, then he's known to have, in his previous life, done all these activities that have been listed here by his Brahminical father. So this is the real purpose of yoga practice, to reach the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. And as shown here, it's illustrated here how he's given the facility to, being born in a Brahminical family, he's been given the facility to continue his spiritual practice and advance further. So Krishna, he always gives opportunities to the jiva to continuous opportunities to continue their spiritual progress. Well, that's why we're here, that we've been given this opportunity. It said that if we're practicing Krishna consciousness in this life, it means that we've done something in the past to I've met some devotee or had some engagement, some agyata sukriti, to be able to continue it in this life. This is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33-7. Ahobata svapacho to gyariyan yajjivagre tvartate nama tubhyam te pustapas te juhuvu sashnu alya brahmanuchu nama grinantiyete. O my Lord, persons who chant the holy names of your Lordship are far advanced in spiritual life, even if born in families of dog-eaters. Such chanters have undoubtedly performed all kinds of austerities and sacrifices, bathed in all sacred places, and finished all scriptural studies. So, as we may experience in this life, that we've been given another chance, but it's not necessary that we'll take into... it says here, even if born in families of dog-eaters. So that's considered the lowest of the low. And so our backgrounds may not be so elevated as Maharaj Bharat here, but still we've been given an opportunity. And this is by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who, by the grace of Advaitacharya, he called out for his appearance and answered that call by coming, called to Krishna for his appearance, feeling not having within his ability to be able to deliver the souls, and who he could see were very much in need of some special mercy. And so Lord Chaitanya appeared. He accepted Haridas Thakur, who was born in a Muslim family, and even he became the Namacharya, as he was so devoted that he would constantly be remembering the Lord, constantly chanting his holy names. And it's also why Lord Nityananda, he suffered the blow from Madai, is it Madai, and asked the Lord to show them their special mercy, because if he was to kill them, then he'd have to kill everyone on the planet. So in this way, we're very much being made fortunate to take up this process. And so, because it could be, because it's can be quite rare to maybe to achieve. It says how a prolonged period, after prolonged practice, one may appear in the family of Brahmins. But even in this day and age, like in India, you have these Acharya families or Goswami families who for generations being Brahminical, but even them, they've degenerated due to the influence of Kali Yuga, not having the sufficient education and training to keep them on a high level of practice. I was hearing how before they do their daily rituals and sacrifices, it's also a ritual before that to take a cup of coffee. So the people hosting them, we must give the Brahmin his cup of coffee, before he starts. So it seems to be practiced by many in South India, along with their spiritual duties. So this is how things are degrading in Kali Yuga. But still there are Vaishnava families who, generation after generation, are strictly adhering to the principles of Bhakti Yoga. So even though, so this could be seen as a very good opportunity, but as I say, Maharaj Bharat, he just wanted to think of the Lord and within his heart have that constant connection with him. So anything else, like what his father would try and teach him, would be asat sangha for him. It'd be unfavourable for his spirit, his transcendental state of consciousness. And in this way, he'd be completely engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. His faith strengthened by his fall down, faith in the Lord and his spiritual master. So in this way, he was completely freed from any contaminations and any illusions, the dualities of the not being taken in by the duality of the dualities of the material world. So we can be overcome by these contaminations and these dualities ourselves. So it's important for us to take lessons from the life of Maharaj and see what it means to be determined, to be serious about our spiritual life, how to think that we can treat the temples, for example, as a spiritual playground. Then one is destined to be woken up by the Lord by some fall down or setback or kick, if one's fortunate, kick by Lord Nityananda to wake us up to the reality of being in this material world and how what a precarious situation it is to remain here. We can only consider ourselves safe when we're at the lotus feet of the Lord in his spiritual abode. So until we get there, all precautions should be taken to practice as strictly as possible. Always praying to the Lord for direction, for the humility to take the direction, for the intelligence to whatever situation we come across, to beg the Lord to what we meant to learn from this, and not to be overcome by our mind and senses, our emotions, or conceptions that don't come in line with Guru, Sadhu and Sastra. And the more we endeavour to keep that constant link with the Lord, at least to begging Him for His assistance, then He makes arrangements to give us our understanding via Guru, via Sadhu, and via Sastra. And in this way, we can nourish our intelligence and become mature in our practice of spiritual life. And in this way, be able to give inspiration and be exemplary for others who are either on the path or who are attracted, and inspire them onto the path also. And this way we get Lord Chaitanya's mercy, Krishna's mercy. There's none so dear as his devotee who spreads his glories. And in this way we'll be acting as a limb as the spirit of the spiritual master to assist him in his mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. Any questions or comments?
Just that verse you quoted about, even one born in a family of dogs must have performed all pious activities in his last life. And Sri Prabhupada on several occasions says that I am your pious activities. So it's actually that verse from the third canto, it starts Aho Bhata, which means how astonishing. So it's like whoever is speaking that verse, I don't know if it should do, anyway, whoever's speaking that verse, they're astonished that someone born in the family of dog eaters can have devotional qualities. So they're saying they must have performed somehow or other, even though they've taken birth in the family, somehow or other they must have performed all those activities in their last life. So it's like sometimes we may think, well, did some devotees in ISKCON perform all those activities in their last life? Well, there's a clue from Srila Prabhupada quotes Srimad Bhagavatam Gita, chapter 6, verse 41. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. And then in subsequent verses, Srila Prabhupada says that, that such a person becomes attracted to the principles of devotional service automatically, and very quickly they take up again the process, and they attain perfection after many, many lives. But so it's said that when we see someone coming to Krishna consciousness, irrespective of what birth they may have taken, if they very quickly become absorbed in all of the activities of devotional service and make rapid advancement, then is that to be concluded that they actually have performed those activities in the previous life? And does it matter? Should we treat them in a different way? Should we treat such devotees differently from devotees who appear to take a longer time? Or should they also have to go through the training? I'm not suggesting that they're on the platform of Bharat Mirage, but they may have some real attraction for data survey, so just they don't find anything difficult.
Well, Krishna makes arrangements for them. I'm sure that they can meet the right people to take up a service that's best for their spiritual advancement. They have many kind of even young devotees who are considered like acharyas, great, very good at inspiring others and giving Krishna consciousness. Like you see in Shabhati, there's many like brahmacharis and so on who they were well trained in preaching and so on, in the culture of Krishna consciousness. So they become worldwide teachers to corporate sector of society and so on. So Krishna places them where they'll get the what's best according to their desire, determination, and implicit faith in the spiritual master and Lord. But it's not limited to that anyway. Krishna's not limited, like he's not limited by making a devotee out of someone who's born in a dog-eating family. So, and whether we should treat them differently. Well, we just give what we can, and then if they surpass us in spiritual realization, then they'll be connected with those who can take them further. And as I said, it's in that same section, Prabhupada says how Krishna can give, by the grace of Lord, the Transcendentalist gets repeated opportunities for complete perfection in Krishna consciousness. So that they're not dependent on us. Krishna can make all sorts of arrangements for them. We can be fortunate to be able to share, maybe to assist them in some way, in a mode of service. We may have to give them some direction, or if they're just walking in the door. It's like Prabhupada was saying the other day, how if you're teaching someone something that you don't know much about yourself, as long as you're a lesson ahead of them, but they may go on to be, performers. But at least we can help them in their initial steps. Is that okay?
Okay.
And we don't have to be extraordinary ourselves to be able to help people. We can. It may just mean having a smile. Maybe a smile at someone who's, and that's it. They find that attractive, and that's it. And that's a nice person. I remember on the street, I was in the practice of asking people to say Vrinda, and no one can say it without a smile, and people inadvertently smile even there. Anyway, so one lady, I think it was one man came back. He just passed me by. He just kept on walking, and he came back and he handed me £10. Said that's the first time I smiled in 3 months. My girlfriend left me, or something like that. So we don't know how potent even a smile can be, even how a gentle word to be able to inspire someone further in their Krishna, onto the path of Krishna consciousness or become attracted to the devotees. Or initially just to have some faith, because it all starts with faith, Shraddha. Then comes sadhu sangha, bhajan kriya. So the more association they have, the more inclined they'll be to take the next step. So this Sankirtan movement is so important in this regard too. And now we've got the opportunity, like for so many years we didn't manage so much follow-up from the books. So now we've been given an opportunity. To take them a step further, and if they go on to be great devotees, then Krishna will give us some credit in that, and helping them in their advancement in some way. Especially important to just the purpose of chanting the holy name constantly, and this is facilitated only by Trinadapi Sunichana Turapi Sahishnana Amanina Amanadi Kirtana Stahari. So whatever situations we find ourselves in, which if we find ourselves being contaminated by a particular thought in the, of either lust, anger, or greed, we're affected by the dualities of the mature world, then we can remember the residents of Vrindavan, and in this way see Krishna as our only shelter. Because every time when we do, then he always reciprocates in some way. And if we're puzzled by his reciprocation, then and maybe we find ourselves in an undesirable circumstance, then we can again pray what am I meant to be learning from this. Please give me some direction. And he does so via this sadhu, by the guru, by the sastra. We can pray to the Lord in the heart, we can pray to the deities. And that's through his devotees. We can pray to the Prabhupada, we can pray to Acharya. Please, just as you beckon the Lord to appear in this world, please show mercy to that I can establish the Lord within my heart and serve him nicely there. Any other comments or questions?
It's interesting how Maharaj Bharat, he kind of sets an example of how to recover from fall down, because in relationship what you were saying about either what Javad Prabhu said, we may have never had any contact, but somehow or another we were picked up by Prabhupada's mercy in this lifetime, or another way of looking at it, and another explanation that we did something in a past life, some devotional service, and in this life we are attracted somehow or another to it. But the fact is, whichever if it is a second option, then that means we also fell down, or we incompleted it, or committed some offense, or became negligent, as Maharaj Bharat, or somewhat, wishfully we didn't complete it. So when one becomes kind of aware of the situation, I mean the fact is there, in one way or another we haven't completed. That's why we are here, whether we started or we haven't started. But the fact that we are here, and so Maharaj Bharat is exemplifying of this becoming very repentant as soon as one becomes aware that I haven't, I must haven't completed whatever neglect, offense, negligence, and then try to recover from that situation by becoming very repentant. Not of course in like a, there is some way of repentance in some religious traditions, so like a beating yourself up physically, but repentant in a sense, you know, of not doing the same mistake, whatever it was, because there is some general list of things why we didn't complete, offense, negligence, lacks, lacks, etc. So, being very vigilant in this life of not going the same way as in the last life, and also, bringing some feeling of humility in our chanting, in our prayer, that please, my Lord, please forgive me whatever it was, and kind of please reinstate me and give me what I'm lacking, and let me not make the same mistake for which I kind of never completed, in the last life. So he was very repentant, and he also always thinking of Krishna.
So that's why the devotees serious in the practice are very vigilant to where the mind is at, and in which direction the mind is going in, and if it's taking us to some illusory conception, or to be attracted by the objects of the senses, and to always be on our guard, and not take the mind so seriously, and to be open to direction on how one can come to that understanding, and as a realization. Sometimes we can take it too seriously, and give in to how we feel and how we think, and without seeing how it's whether or not it's in line with Guru, Sadhu, Sastra. Because it's the mind that tricks us into, it's the medium for Maya to come in like a needle, and then if we put it into practice, follow the mind and act according to the mind's direction, then it's trying to get it out, trying to get it out like a plough. So the more as we go on in spiritual life, we see how Maya gets more and more subtle. So in this way, to really see the need for constant chanting the holy name of the Lord, because as Jagbar illustrates, there is no other way. Just like Haridas Thakur, constant chanting the holy name of the Lord, it protected him from Maya's best weapon. So what to speak of us, he's setting an example for us to follow. To be, not to try and be somebody extraordinary, but to set example, follow the example, to be exemplary ourselves by following those extraordinary devotees. In this way, avoiding the train of thought that repeats the I, me and mine, puts puts ourselves in the centre. But to be exemplary, to follow the example so that we can please Guru, Sadhu, Sastra, that we can be favourable for the advancement of others who belong to Krishna also.
Yes, also in terms of dealing with the mind, this kind of neglect and tolerating and that kind of thing, it's kind of very hard, kind of negative way of dealing it. And at times it can be necessary to do it, but there is also like a more positive ways of kind of handling the mind, and just like in that course that we had, because the mind will tell a certain situation, interpret situation according to a certain mode of nature that we may be influenced at this specific time or in general, but trying to change the different perspective instead of just completely ignoring it, you can actually analyze it and look from a different perspective, trying to find and we were making this point, I believe yesterday or day before, either some ourselves we may be able to give that different perspective by thinking, is there a different way of looking at this, or a more positive Krishna conscious way, or more Shastic way, or according to Guru or Sadhu, or if we are not able ourselves to get out, then we can approach somebody else and ask them, to give that different perspective of the same phenomenon. And I just read in Bhagavatamrita, the power of a devotee is such that, or a very advanced devotee, that the most hellish situation in life that you may be able, that maybe you are going through, it can explain to you and give a different vision, that you realize, this is the greatest fortune. I'm just going through the hell, but if you speak with a devotee who is advanced and transcendental, he can actually show you that this is the greatest luck you're going through.
So the verse I was saying, from praying, then Guru Sadhu and see through the eyes of Guru Sadhu and Sastra. That way, I'd like to share something here that I found, which talking about changing our perspective. And this kind of talk given by His Grace Vaj Bihari Das, the Indian bodied one, Venugopalacharya. So he's saying these are 8 mental guards against seeing things negatively or allowing us to make offences. So he's saying in any situation, we may think we're right, but he's saying to these are other 8 other perspectives, and saying he is also right. So someone in this situation maybe just, we may not agree, but to accept that they have another way of seeing things, and or he does not know what is right, so maybe he hasn't been told or doesn't know. I don't know what is right. Maybe there's, in other words, maybe there's a bigger picture, not to make mountains out of molehills. And the intention is right, so then in this way we can give the benefit of the doubt that they're trying to assist. And something else is right, so if it finds it really difficult, we can focus on another quality of other wonderful qualities of a devotee, for example. That one negative thing isn't their total identity. So not to let it cloud our perspectives on them or anything else. And the ultimate result is right. So if it seems like it's totally bewildering, this doesn't make any sense at all, then we can see how Krishna must be behind it. He's sanctioning it. He's directing it, and he's perfectly right. And then we could. The other one is to pray for the right, and to write the right, to maybe send some words of appreciation. So. To have some recommending open communication, which can be, just leave it there. So thank you for your comments and questions. I'm trying Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Iskon Guruvita Ki Jai, Samveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Haribol, Brigis Vrinda Mataji Ki Jai.